What's up, everybody? This is Justin. I'm here with Tom.
Hey.
We're two of the bigger board game nerds at IGN, so we're super happy to bring you a close look at Rising Sun and its numerous expansions from Simon and Guillotine Games.
Yeah.
Tom, what do we need to know about this game?
Dude, I'm just really excited to finally have it. This game did a Kickstarter back in April of last year. I backed it then. It got $4.4 million on Kickstarter, 32,000 backers.
So this is, Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, we have the base game here, Kickstarter, then
Kickstarter rewards,
and some expansions.
This is the main expansion, then 2 smaller expansions, and this all came with the level I pledged at.
Just like the super give me everything level.
Pretty much.
And the math on this, I think, works out to there's 25,000 minis that are included in Rising Sun.
Just about that, not quite that.
Sure.
Yeah, I think we mapped out it's 144 minis in these boxes. Not quite that as many in the base game, but yeah, it's a lot of little minifigs.
Right on. And I am guessing by the art here and the name Rising Sun, this is, Japanese samurai-inspired sort of tactical war game?
Yes, but with a lot of mythology in it too. There's a lot of gods and monsters and oni and demons and all that sort of stuff that come into play as well.
So Japanese fantasy and not strictly historical.
Definitely.
Awesome. Well, let's jump in and sort of dig into some of this.
All right.
All right, we're back. I don't know if you can tell in the time lapse, but it took us 3 hours to unpack this all. But
We've been here for a week.
We sped that up for you. Tom, I have known you about 7 months now. This is the happiest I've ever seen you. You're just very, very pleased with all this. And I have to admit, I'm actually not a big minis guy. I, like more Euro-style board games. But even I'm pretty impressed with the level of detail in some of these.
Yeah. It's honestly, the minis, going back to the Kickstarter campaign, when I backed it, the minis were part of what sold me on this, because they were showing these minis with just incredible detail to them, and I was really worried waiting for it, oh man, it's probably going to be mass production, it's going to lose some of that detail, but man, these things are really intricate.
Let's get into a few of the, these are mostly the gods and sort of boss monsters here in the back, right? What are some of your favorites out of these guys?
Definitely my favorite is this guy, the fire dragon, because he's got these all these little furry tendrils and flames coming off him, and there's these little details the ball he's on, he's got little claw marks pulling into the ball, tearing into it, and it's really tiny little things like that that are just all over this game.
I also really, really liked, you called this guy the River Dragon.
Yeah, the River Dragon.
He's got a similar deal. His claw marks have taken a toll on sort of his home here, and all the sort of watery details on him as well.
I also really like this guy. Is basically Godzilla. He's called the Dai Kaiju, and it's pretty much Godzilla. This one got bought in the first game I played of it last night, actually, and it was just, someone just wanted Godzilla, so they bought Godzilla. It was that simple.
It's awesome. And so you, as you said, you kickstarted this yourself. This isn't something that was just sent to us.
No,
this
yeah,
is
I'm just excited about this game.
There's a few sort of upgrades that you got
yes.
for Kickstarter versions that jumped out at me again. As even someone that's not a big minis guy, I just really, really love the attention to detail and sort of the materials that some of these are made out of.
Yeah.
You called these the, what were these called?
These are the political mandate cards.
The political mandate cards, just sort of made out of, it almost feels like a traditional, obviously it's not like real porcelain or something like that, but just a very, very pleasing thickness to them.
It's like a mahjong tile almost, right?
It does almost feel like a mahjong tile. And I also really, really thought that these turtles were clever.
So those are the strongholds. Each faction can summon up to 4 strongholds in the game, and normally you do them individually like this, but they can also stack.
Yeah.
And then the Turtle Clan, the green guys' faction ability, their specific thing is that their strongholds can move. And so they put them on the backs of turtles. And so instead, to differentiate that, you actually have this really detailed turtle figurine where if you turn it over, there's even detail on the belly where it looks like a turtle's stomach.
That's so awesome.
They didn't just do the top of it.
That you'll never even see.
Yeah.
It's still modeled and still detailed. And we should point out, this is the game. This is the 144 miniatures, but it's not even every single thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of little, there's the
game
board
here, and we didn't punch out all the little bits of cardboard yet.
Some of which the Kickstarter exclusive stuff does replace. So things like the mandate tiles and the stronghold tokens are usually little cardboard pop-outs. And since I backed it on Kickstarter, I get this exclusive that is these really, really nice sculpts. So unfortunately, those aren't available retail, but it's still just like some incredible detail for backing.
Let's talk about a couple more of these, just these giant boss monsters.
Yeah.
Who's this guy?
I believe that's the Oni of Skulls. I'm not. There's like 4 different Oni. It might also be the Oni of Blood.
Okay, one enough. Fair enough. He's a bad dude. I really, really like he's got the heads of his enemies sort of dangling from his belt, and even those heads have details like beards and other elements on them.
This is a tree that is a tree full of heads. So instead of like leaves that are like a weeping willow type thing, it's like hair coming out. It's super creepy. There's a lot of little like Japanese horror elements, a lot of like girls that look like the ring on the head of a snake, for example. Like,
well, you gotta have one of those.
Really terrifying stuff. They very, very clearly like went deep into Japanese mythology and lore, and then even a little bit of Chinese mythology with one of the expansions. The Dynasty Invasion expansion adds 2 factions to the game that are more of a Chinese tint instead of a Japanese tint.
And you pointed out, we'd be here all day if we talked about, the 144 sort of smaller scale minis, but you pointed out to me earlier that the colors are sort of the factions of the game, right? So even if you don't paint your minis, you're just using them out of the box, you can still see at a glance, whose pieces are where.
Exactly. And each faction has 10 minis total, and they have 4 different sculpts. You have one that's like your leader, and then 3 just different sculpts that are just kind of cool looking.
So these individual guys right here, these would be the leaders?
Yeah, those are the leaders. They're called your daimyo, and then you can get, there's also your Shinto and your Bushi, and although all the units, this is a kind of cool little thing, all the units are functionally the same until you add this little white circle to the bottom, and then when you put it on there, it actually just differentiates that unit as a Shinto instead. So if you like one sculpt more than the other, you can just pop that ring off and put it on a different type of unit.
I was wondering, some of the stuff, you said you played the game this weekend with some of your friends, or attempted to. It's always hard to learn something new. And that's why some of this, there's already some rings on a little bit of this equipment.
Yeah.
Awesome. Tom, I've been teasing you a little bit just because of how excited you are and how much you like, minis more than I do. But man, I think Rising Sun, you might have converted me a little bit.
Yeah. I'm glad. I'm hoping I can get you to play it with me if we can learn the rules together. It's a pretty it's a weird bit of mix of a lot of things going on, but pretty simple in the moment, right? You're only doing one thing at a time, but man, there's a lot of detail and intricacy in the rules as well.
That's awesome. So guys, for everything that you're into, IGN is more than just video games and comics and movies. We are trying to do more and more board game stuff. So you're already in the right place for all your nerd hobbies right here at IGN.